Technology is rapidly accelerating like a runaway train. What implications, if any, are in store for the human race in the not too distant future? With advancements in AI getting smarter, humans evolving and discovering new ways to live longer. Now, most upgrades to begin with will be available to the masses, but what will happen when only the elite can afford to upgrade to the next level? Cybernetic organisms possessing both organic and biomechatronic body parts, along with linking their brain with AI. Physicists have reversed time on the smallest scale using a powerful quantum computer. The second law of thermodynamics is less a hard rule and more of a guiding principle for the universe. It says that hot things get colder over time as energy transforms and spreads out from the areas where it's most intense. Electrons, they're not like tiny billiard balls, they're more akin to information that occupies a space. Their details are defined by something called the Schrodinger's equation, which represents the possibilities of an electron's characteristics as a wave of chance. You can stick your hand out and you can grab it and you can pinpoint its location, but you can't be sure of its velocity. You can also gently brush your finger against it and confidently know its velocity, but where it went, who knows? Mathematically, it means that under a certain transformation called complex conjunction, the equation will describe a smeared electron localizing back into a small region of space over the same period of time. Each of these states was arranged into a simple state which corresponded to a hand holding a ball. Once the quantum computer was set into action, these states rolled out into a range of possibilities. By tweaking certain conditions in the computer's setup, those possibilities were confined in a way that effectively rewound the Schrodinger's equation deliberately. Imagine a spontaneous time loop. Your older self arrives from the future and hands you the blueprint for you to build a time machine with strict instructions to use it later to travel back and deliver the blueprint to yourself and thereby complete the loop. Now, what, if anything, caused the loop to occur in the first place? Where did the information on the blueprint come from? Now, to answer these questions, we look at the duration and hidden states of time. The future exists, but only in time states. Einstein explained that space-time is a fabric. You live on the thin line of the present. However, the past still exists, but it's entangled within this fabric, as well as the future. It doesn't necessarily mean your life is mapped out. It is, however, mapped out, as you are not really in control. You are merely an observer, but you just being here has an influence on outcomes. And within the infinite dimensional fabric of space-time, which holds infinite possible outcomes, Everything that can happen will happen, all woven into this. However, you'll only experience one part of this, and within this part of space-time, you are connected to an infinite parallesium. To travel back in time in physics, you'd need to travel faster than the speed of light, or you could warp space-time into something similar to the 12th dimension, where you'll have access to boundaries outside of space-time. When you go back in time, you don't see everything go back in reverse. It's not like that, because if you went back in time, so would everyone else go back in time with you. Everything would go back and you'd get younger and younger and younger until you reached the part of time that you were going back to. These are states of time, and they exist in the fabric of space-time. The duration of an event or state is the time during which it happened or existed, moreover outside the dimension you are currently in. They're different to how we perceive dimensions. When we talk about 5 dimensions or curled up dimensions, these dimensions haven't yet been detected. There are only 4 proven dimensions that we have been determined. The 3 spatial being length, width and height. Then there is the temporal dimension of time, or preferred phraseology, the duration of stored time in an information event. The blueprints for this time machine, when you build it and when you travel back in time to hand the blueprints to your younger self, you will in fact be holding them to a copy of yourself. It will not really be you, but a copy of you that becomes you in a later time dimension. A bit like you'd observe an old photograph of yourself. It was once you, but not you now. You can only access states that are active. Copies of you exist within digits of time woven into the fabric of time. So if you travel to the past or future, you'll access states which will be infinite possible outcomes, all connected to what seems like a seamless code. Qubits, superconducting quantum computing, is an implementation of a quantum computer. The rotations between the different energy levels of a single qubit are introduced by microwave pulses sent to a transmission line. If you go back in time to change something, you'll only be changing events in another superposition state. The dimension you've come from will be frozen within another time state at that moment you last observed it. You'll only change things in a new time state. The part of you that observes the universe can only be in one time duration at one time. The infinite copies are undetermined states until such time it becomes you. It'll certainly seem like you've altered events until you start looking in the history books within the new dimension. You'll soon discover that quite a few historical facts will be quite different to what you remember. You don't actually go back in time, you merely enter and create a new timeline.